It's time for Sportsnaut's MLB podcast. Big League Buzz, news and interviews from around the majors. Here's your host, Scott Golbranen.
All right, baseball fanatics, welcome to Big League Buzz, the baseball podcast from Sportsnaut. I am Scott Golbranen, editor, writer, host here with Sportsnaut.com. Oh yeah, by the way, have you not been to Sportsnaut.com? Do I need to check your papers here? Just kidding, but check it out. Make sure you go up there. Go subscribe to the daily email newsletter. That way you get all the headlines delivered right to your inbox. You can find that up on the website and linked in the description below. And forget about it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast too, wherever you get your audio. Just look for Big League Buzz from Sportsnaut. Subscribe, rate, and review. Put on that auto download. That way, every time we have a new show, guess what? You're going to get it right to your inbox. Also, on YouTube or wherever you're watching us, make sure you subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. We certainly appreciate it. Also, hit that notifications bell. That way, anytime we have a new video, you're going to get notified. But thanks for being with us here. We're talking baseball. In this show, we're not only going to have kind of the latest news and views from me, of course. Hey, I'm never short on strong-willed views, so get ready for it. Also, interviews. We're always going to have interviews here on the show. It's an interview-driven show, and today we're taking a look at the Cincinnati Reds. Do you have a team that you like? Is it in the NL Central? The Reds seem to be the team to beat there, although they've been a little bit inconsistent. But we're going to talk to Trent Rosecrans. He covers the Reds for The Athletic out of Cincinnati. We're going to go through that, talk about Elly Cruz, talk about Terry Francona and that pitching staff, where that red team's going. Where's that red team going, I should say. And also, we'll get to the end of the show where we'll tell you what to watch for from Sportsnaut as well when it comes to Major League Baseball, because we got coverage all day, every day up there. So make sure you do it. But thanks for being with me. We're going to talk about baseball. Got some great guests coming up over the next few weeks. So get ready for that. If this is the first time with the show and we've changed formats, we've kind of changed things around a little bit here at Sportsnaut, make sure you subscribe. I think you'll like it and the kind of guests we have. We'll get guests from all over the league, but also around baseball in general, the culture of baseball, the history of baseball, you name it. We are going to give it to you. Going to give it to you. That's right. So be ready for it. And we appreciate you being here. All right. First of all, I want to talk about the early season, right? Early baseball season. We're almost coming up here on the first month of the season being complete. We know it's a long baseball season as well. But if you look at what's happened, there's a couple things, and I wrote down, and you'll see me wave this paper if you're watching or hear it at you with my notes on it for the show. But here's some things that I've noticed, some things that I think are big storylines in Major League Baseball. I'm going to start up with unexpected power surges, okay? Is it the new bats? I don't know. Ask the Yankees. Remember how crazy that was at the beginning of the year? But more than that, we have players who aren't typically known for their power top the home run leaderboard, like Corbin, out of Arizona, the Diamondbacks. Also, A's first baseman Tyler Soderstrom. Dodgers second baseman Tommy Edman, who came over from the Cardinals, if you remember, after last season. He had a career high 25 home runs. So there you go. Soderstrom had just 12 home runs in 106 career games before the season, and Edmonds had a career high 13. And here they are leading the home run race so far. What is it? Is it the ball? Has Major League Baseball juiced the ball? Are we talking juice? They won't let those guys in the Hall of Fame, but they're going to juice the ball. I don't know. We'll see. But is that one reason? Is it these new bats? You tell me. What do you think? Leave in the comments below, whether you're on audio or video. Tell me what you think. What is behind this power surge that we're seeing in Major League Baseball, especially from guys like Edman? 13 career home runs. He's already surpassed that, or close to that, I should say, in 2025. What's going on? What is going on with baseball? Is it just early season pitchers? I don't know. Tell me, but that's one of my storylines. The other, Pavin Smith. We're staying in the NL West. By the way, we're going to talk about the NL West in a second, but Pavin Smith's breakout season for the Diamondbacks, 244 with a 0.723 OPS in 361 career games. 29 years old. He enters Saturday, this past weekend, with a 365. He's leading the NL with a 1.186 OPS. Come on. What's going on? Maybe the water out there in Arizona, maybe the air. Well, something happened out there. So that's amazing. But from what I'm reading, they attribute it to an incredible 514 batting average on balls in play. That's the BAP-IP. All these damn statistic acronyms. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the data. It's BABIP for those of you out there keeping score and hitting the ball harder. But yes, I understand it. But Smith's breakout so far, sometimes it just clicks for guys, right? I mean, it just does. You look at, we're going to talk about Hunter Greene later in Cincinnati with Trent Rosecrans. And from a pitching perspective, like everybody's expecting, because this kid from the time he's in high school, expecting him to be a superstar. With Smith and this hitting barrage that he's been putting on, yeah, people expected him to do well, but they didn't maybe expect him to come out. Maybe had written him off, but there he is. He's doing it. Then you look at Tyler Malle's dominance over with the Rangers. He's been injured a lot, right? So you look at what Malle's done. He's got an MLB leading 0.68, 0.68 ERA. Get out of here. They're hitting just 112 batters, that is. 112 against him. And he's leading baseball by allowing only it's a little bit under 2.9 something. 3 hits per 9 innings. 3 hits per 9 innings. So we're seeing some really amazing early season performances. And I'll tell you what, just like any sport, especially you guys know your baseball heads, the consistency is what matters. So you can have one great month. You can have a Hall of Fame month. Doesn't matter. It's a long 162 game marathon, folks. So we'll see if these guys continue it. But one of the teams that surprised me, and as I said, we're going to talk about the NL Central when we talk about the Reds in the next segment. But the Cubs, what's going on with the Cubs? Check the urine. Urine test with the Cubs. They're hitting the crap out of the ball. If you look at this, the expectation was the Dodgers would be the big offensive team, right? The Cubs entered last weekend leading Major League Baseball in batting average, hits, on base percentage, runs scored, and OPS. Oh, just a few. The Cubs. Hey, it's Harry. Harry Carey. Okay, I don't know if my impression's any good, but hey, the Cubs are hitting. The Cubs are hitting. Now bring me up Budweiser. All right, there you go, Harry Carey. But you look across that lineup, Kyle Tucker, Michael Busch, Seiya Suzuki, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Carson Kelly, the catcher. Now, I'm calling it now. I don't think the Cubs sustain this. I think they got off to a really fast start, and they're going to fade. But crazy things have happened. Crazier things have happened in baseball, and you guys have all seen them. So we'll see what happens with the Cubs, but that's my 4th early season surprise. My 5th is the Padres and Giants both keeping pace with the Dodgers, right? Because, look, there's no questioning what the Dodgers did last year, winning the World Series. Look at their lineup. Look what they added to their lineup. It's a super roster. It's a super roster. But you look at the Padres. They're heavily favored. The Dodgers were heavily favored to just run away with the division. Now, the Padres, Giants, and the Diamondbacks all made improvements to their teams, all have pretty good teams, but the Dodgers are just so much better, should say, not more better. So you look at that, but you look at San Diego, San Francisco, they're ahead of the Dodgers in standing going into the weekend. Padres got swept, so I think this is updated, and I think the Dodgers move back up. But you look at Fernando Tatis in San Diego, pitchers Nick Pivetta, Michael King, Robert Suarez for the Padres. Padres are for real. Now, getting swept at home by the Rays, not a good early season look, but they continue to be one to watch. And then the Giants, Jung-Hoo Lee, This guy, so much fun to watch. And the Giants always seem, you think they're going to be bad, but they always seem to be a surprise. That organization just keeps it going. So there you go. You have the power surges. You have Pavin Smith. You have Tyler Mahle's dominance in Texas, as I mentioned. You got the Cubs bats, and then the Padres and Giants in the NL West. And we're going to talk about the NL West. It's going to convert. But you look at these situations, and you look at all of what's happening in baseball, some surprises there. There's always surprises. But let's see now. We're going to settle into May, and we'll see what happens with those. But while we were talking about the Padres, Giants, and Dodgers, let's talk about the NL West, because I took some notes there too, and I want to really talk about how the NL West, and I'm sorry, all you East Coasters, but the NL West is the most competitive division in baseball and the best division in baseball. It's stacked. Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks. Early in this season, listen to this number. 4 teams in the NL West are above 500, and 3 are playing at a 600 clip. 3 of them at 600 winning percentage. Even experts, I mean, you talk about any experts you read out, all of them are surprised at this pace and how they've been winning and what they've been doing. The Padres, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, like everybody, talk about a Dodgers slump earlier in the year, first couple weeks. But you see this division, and boy, for those of you on Eastern time zone like I am, it's too bad you can't stay up and watch baseball from the West Coast, because there you have the AL West too. There's some good teams there. But the predictions were about the Dodgers just dominating this division, right? And guess what? Hasn't happened. They're not running away. It's not a given. It's not the given. Look, I think eventually the Dodgers will win the division. Okay? As much as I should say, to admit that. I think they win, but because they still have the most talent. There's no question. But there are other talented teams in the division, and an injury here, an injury there, whatever it may be. And you could find the Dodgers not winning the NL West. Is it the Padres, who I think have the best chance? I think the Giants will fade a little bit, but I think they're going to stay competitive. Each team's early success is key factors here. We talked about the Padres. Their pitching has been phenomenal so far. Fernando Tatis, again, a monster. And then you got the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers powered really by 3 possible MVP candidates: Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. And then the Diamondbacks. Let's get to them, because they seem to be the forgotten team sometimes in this division, even though I talked about them a little bit earlier. Corbin Carroll's year he's having. We talked about Smith, and we talked about Lee with the Giants. So this division, you look at it, and really, what are the potential challenges for the teams in this division? Whether you're the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, or Diamondbacks, it all comes back to what it is every year in every division, and that's health and pitching depth. So whose pitching is going to hold up longest? They can all hit the ball. We got some hitters that are just having incredible years so far. So how are they going to do that? They got to hold on. They got to have the pitching depth and consistent production across the board. Giants are struggling at first base with consistent production. The Padres, Dodgers, and Diamondbacks, pitching depth is the issue. They all have really good pitching, but there's a little bit of thinness when you get in middle relief. Pitching for the Padres, bottom of the order there. Or I should say the rotation. And we talked about Nick Pivetta in San Diego, that low ERA, nobody expected that. Tommy Edman, the power in LA, and the rest of them. So it's going to be interesting. Other teams like the Padres have been just challenging for the Dodgers. They were last year, especially down the stretch. The Giants have hope that they can defy expectations. We'll see. And I think the Diamondbacks in 2023, you go back 2 years, they showed that they can be short playoff success team. They can be a short playoff success team. So we'll see. But are you as excited about the NL West as I am? Not just because I grew up watching it and living in it, but tell me what you think. Leave the comments below and what you believe is going to happen in that division. Is it the Dodgers, the Padres, Giants, or the Diamondbacks? Who's going to win that division? Who's going to be the wild? I think a wild card team will come out of that division, maybe 2. Which one will it be? You tell me on that one. So we get to it. All right. We're going to take our first break here on Big League Buzz, the MLB podcast from Sportsnaut.com. When we come back, we're going to be joined by my man, Trent Rosecrans. He is the Reds beat writer, columnist for theathletic.com. He's going to talk to us about the Reds in 2025. Are they for real? Can they do it? Can they win the NL Central? We're going to find that out when we come back. Don't go anywhere. This is Big League Buzz. Okay, welcome back to segment number 2 here on Big League Buzz, the baseball podcast from Sportsnaut. I'm Scott Golbranen, your host, and joining me now, our special guest is Trent Rosecrans. And Trent writes for The Athletic. He covers the Cincinnati Reds. You can follow him, by the way, which you must do if you're a baseball fan and you like it, whether you like the Red Legs or not, right? Just do it. Good baseball writers are good baseball writers, always worth following. On X, at Trent. Trent, thanks for joining us, man. And I'll tell you what, the Cincinnati Reds, I think people, especially those in the Queen City, waiting. Such a great baseball city. It's been so long since the city's been able to kind of look really positively at the franchise. Of course, the ownership, there's been issues there. But this team, I think, got people excited. But the start of the season's been a mixed bag. You know, they've had this incredible offensive rut where they had 35 innings of scoreless baseball. Then they scored 24 against Baltimore, of course, on Easter. But you look at this team and the inconsistency, yet clearly the talent they have offensively, to me, that's been one of the early stories this season. Talk a little bit about that. How do they find consistency from the corner outfielders? Of course, we saw Austin Hayes has come off the injured list on fire. But when you look at this team and what it's doing and what it kind of has shown us what it is so far, inconsistent, what does it tell you, and how should fans look at this and maybe look at the positive versus the challenges they face?
I think you could, if you want to look at positives, you look at starting pitching. First of all, it's been pretty darn good. And then Nick Lodolo yesterday, maybe as good as anybody. Of course, it was against the Rockies, but it was in Denver. So, sure. You know, what he did was, I think he gave up 2 hits, both were infield singles in Colorado. That's pretty impressive in 7 innings. So I think you start there. Hunter Greene looks like he is making that leap from All-Star and then a leap from All-Star. That's a good sign. You know, Andrew Abbott since he's come off the IL, has looked like Andrew Abbott, what you expect out of him, which is a steady performer. Brady Singer has been good. You know, their highest paid pitcher has been the least effective, but I don't worry about Nick Martinez long term, quite honestly. You know, there are plenty of bright spots. I think the biggest questions is that inconsistency offensively. Now, again, we're a month into the season, and that's not a whole lot. Matt McClain is not going to continue to hit whatever he is. I'm a big believer in Matt McClain. I'm less of a believer in Jamer Candelario. Quite honestly, like, I've never understood that fit since the moment he was signed. But you know, you see some really positive bounce back from Noelvi Marte. Even I don't think he continues what he's doing right now because, you know, that's MVP level. But he is a good young player. He's also just 22. And that is easy to forget that he is just 22 years old with seemingly having a lot of things happen in a short time. So I think there are signs. You know, you also see the constant improvement of Elly de la Cruz. There's still warts there, but I mean, they're the other side of that. I'm trying to think of a good analogy from the warts. The other side of that is just phenomenal. You know, like last year he led the league or baseball in strikeouts and errors, and was still an MVP, like vote getter, top 10 MVP guy. That's a pretty impressive, and it's also a guy who's 22, 23. So young. Also very, very young. And if you look at the progression of guys like Bobby Witt, I think you're kind of seeing a similar trend with Elly de la Cruz. You know, his right-handed at-bats have gotten better. He's cut down some on those. if not the strikeouts, but just the wild swings. He's
Yeah.
more in control with this swing, and I think he's doing better in his judgment of pitch of when to swing. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of positives. I think the outfield is still a question. Austin Hayes looks like the Austin Hayes that was an all-star. Again, small sample, but hey, don't knock it while it's happening.
Exactly. But let me go back to Elly De La Cruz, because clearly, I mean, you look at this kid, and for the first time he got into the majors, and even before that, for those of us who paid attention to the minor league baseball and kind of development, what's happening, is you just saw this kid was so full of talent and ability, and being a budding superstar. Not only that, but he's a really smart kid. I don't know him like you do, but clearly watching what he did between seasons 1 and 2, learned English, right, in the one off season.
Really improved his English, yeah.
Yeah. And so, to me, it's just a really bright kid who wants to get better. There's not a lot. There's swagger there, of course, like any great athlete, but he seems to be more mature than that. But what does he need to do? I mean, we look at, you just talked some about the offensive side of Elly De La Cruz, what he needs to do to find some more consistency there. But then also from the fielding perspective, playing shortstop, his size, there's times when he makes plays that just make your mouth drop open, but then he'll boot some balls. What do you think he needs to do defensively to kind of also bring that along so that he can be more consistent and really reach the superstar status that we all know he can reach?
Shortstop's a tough position, especially when you are the guy in the middle of the lineup as well. And doing both is a pretty heavy load. That said, it's just the routine things. I mean, it's not ability. It's just getting more consistent with the routine plays, because when I think also you almost have to adjust your expectations a little bit. And as frustrating as some of those seemingly easy plays are, you also have to look at the totality and the plays that he makes that nobody else makes. And I mean nobody. That it's going to even out, and in the end, it should get better. I mean, who else led the National League in errors his first full year as a starting shortstop? Barry Larkin.
Oh yeah,
And I don't
I
think
remember
we
that
think
guy.
of Barry Larkin as a bad fielder.
No.
He won Gold Gloves. He played at the same time as Ozzie Smith, so maybe a couple that there's some contention. But like this is the talent is just off the charts, and I think a lot of us, it is so dynamic, it is so outsized that our expectations sometimes get ahead of themselves, and that's because you look at him and you think like this is generational talent. I remember going down to the Rocket City Trash Pandas and Chattanooga Lookouts in 2023, and they do those 6-game series, and I sat on just 6-game series watching Elly De La Cruz. That's what I did, and wrote about it. And the thing with that is, I remember going back from that and being like, "Oh my God, am I overselling this guy? Because what I've seen is unreal." And in retrospect, I almost feel like I was underselling him. And that is the talent, that is the star power, and that's quite honestly the person. And I'm glad you mentioned the intelligence, because Elly is a very intelligent person, but he is also fearless, and that goes a long way. A lot of times you'll see some of those highly intelligent players can't get out of the way of their brain, and I think Elly does a great job of focusing on what can go right and not what can go wrong. Now, you might want a little bit more of that, especially on those average plays, but it's amazing to watch. It's I remember talking about how, like, with Billy Hamilton, you would see something new every day, but this guy is Billy Hamilton plus the power of Adam Dunn, and some of the bat to ball skills of more the elite guys. I don't know what the ceiling is.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
No, yeah, it's so fun to watch the kid. It's just, and I think it's going to only get better. So it'll be interesting. But you talked about being just on fire and being one of those guys that can get zoned in. And now you talked earlier about some of the pitching struggles the Reds have had, especially with injuries and whatnot. But one guy who's not struggling and is also, I think, starting to fully reach the potential everyone in baseball thought he could, and that's Hunter Greene. Talk a little about his importance with this roster, where he's at in his development, and why, especially early in the season, him being dialed in like he is matters so much for this team and for obviously Terry Francona, who we'll talk about next.
I mean, I wrote about it last week. He's throwing strikes,
Yeah,
and this is a guy that, again, not to lean on this too much, but the youth. I mean, he has thrown more competitive pitches in the big leagues, probably twice as many as he did in high school and the minors combined. So this is a guy who's learned at the big league level. Last year became an all-star, and this year is, I mean, again, think he could be as good as anybody. And it's just, you look at him and he's throwing strikes now. And I think it's taken some time for him to get that fearlessness. You know, early Hunter Greene, he'd be like, oh man, look at this guy for this amount of time. And then it was 5 innings max. And now, there was his last home game. I think it was like 98 pitches, 72 strikes, or something ridiculous.
crazy.
Like that. And that is what he's doing. And he's kind of gotten that thing where he now sees that, hey, if I throw it, they still have to hit it. And it's not a much. It's kind of the opposite of a lot of guys when you hear about, and this isn't to say he's pitching, but a lot of guys are like just stuff over pitching. And I think Hunter tried to fight that sometimes, and he would try to pitch over throwing. And I think anybody who's ever picked up a baseball and tried to throw it where they want it, when you start aiming, you're not great. And I think Hunter has just kind of gotten that confidence, and he's always been a confident kid, but I think he has shown himself that even if he doesn't have his best stuff, it's still really hard to hit. So he can attack hitters more than he had in the past, and that's a huge difference, especially when you're averaging 99 miles an hour on your fastball and you're throwing some of your hardest pitches in the 7th inning.
Yeah. And I think that number that you threw out about his number of pitches in the big leagues versus high school, college, completely lost. And listen, I don't expect fans, just general fans, to dive that deep into it, because not everybody's as geeky as you or I are. I mean, you do it for a living as well, which is, I just love stats, so I dive into everything. But knowing that, and I think I'd love to get your perspective on this real quick, because you're starting to see it across pro sports now, especially in football, basketball, where guys are getting paid in college now, and with NIL. But even with baseball, the age, they're so young. What we expect of these guys at 21 years old, 22 years old, I mean, I think people forget about that. They forget about the age because they see the blinding talent and all this kind of stuff. I mean, do you agree with that? Or how do you see that? And what is that? Is that because we can see everybody so much now, social media, video, all this kind of stuff?
Well, I think it's because it's when the expectations start. With Hunter Greene, it started when he was junior in high school.
Yeah.
And so like everybody's like, oh man, I've been hearing about this guy forever. He's finally here, and he's 25 years old.
Crazy.
Like, where were some of these other guys, especially the college guys? Justin Verlander when he was 25. This is just a different kind of player, because I mean the only similar guy I can think of is Bryce Harper, right?
Oh,
In
yeah.
baseball.
Yeah.
That we knew him before, and Bryce Harper is, I think, one of the greats of all time, and easy Hall of Famer. And he is an outlier, right? There aren't many Bryce Harpers or Robin Younts who are in the big leagues at 19, and go on and are more than a flash in the pan. And so it is really special what they're doing. And I think it's nobody's going to hear excuses. But I think when you see the steps from these young players, that's when things start rolling and people can get a little more excited.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I'll tell you, I think the last thing I wanted to mention here too was about Terry Francona, because obviously when Francona was hired for the Reds, I thought this is the perfect hire, because here's a guy not only won, but I think the way he managed, and a lot of people I saw some people say, hey, well, yeah, but he's older. You got this younger roster. But no, I think he was the guy. He wanted to get back to the grind, as he said right at his press conference when he was hired. Talk about his presence there with this team, particularly because of the age, because of the talent level, and the fact that they're kind of ready to make that jump. How has that changed the environment, the culture, right? We always talk about culture now in clubhouses and with teams and franchises, and bringing that winning culture and attitude, his print so far on this team, and where you think it's going to take them as they roll ahead in 2025.
I think he's actually, I'm a little different than some. I think there's building on what David Bell and his group started,
Mhm.
and maybe he wasn't the right fit at that time. David is a very kind, understanding person, and is someone who is always going to look on the human side. And I think with Tito, there's that, and he connects, but he also, like, winning is paramount to him.
Mm.
And not to say it wasn't to David, but David takes a lot of other things into consideration. And I as a human, I find that is a very positive thing. But the thing with Terry Francona, you talk about the age or whatever, he's a connector. He connects with
Mm.
everybody. And it is very much like, I would say it's the vibes thing I was talking about this spring. What hit me was it was very Dusty like. And for me, that's a huge compliment, because Dusty Baker is, you want to talk about connector and Hall of Famer, and one of those people. I joke that if you spend a full day with Dusty Baker, 12 hours just talking, you can have some of the best conversations of your life and never talk about baseball. And with Tito, you can do the 12 hours and you're going to have the funniest, best conversations, or some of the best conversations of your life, but they're going to be a lot about baseball. And so that is one difference. But both guys you can't argue with these two future Hall of Fame managers and what they've done and what they were able to do. And so it's been very similar to me to what I witnessed with Dusty Baker, and that's a huge compliment from me.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And it's just nice to see, I think, a good fit. And you mentioned David Bell too, and the Bells in general as a family, amazing family.
The best.
And Cincinnati, the city loved him, right? I mean, they really did. He is a son of the city and just did really well. And I'm glad you mentioned him, because I think people often forget that leadership builds, and sometimes you're not there to see the result of it. Doesn't mean that
Yes.
you didn't do a great job of it. So credit to you for that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this before we let you go, and thank you for all the time today. Is Pete Rose? Obviously, Pete Rose passed at the end of last year. May 14th in Cincinnati, they're going to be honoring Pete Rose at Great America Ballpark. And I think the love affair with Pete Rose nationally was there. Of course, Pete also had his detractors due to the issues he had after the gambling and all that kind of stuff and the banishment from baseball. But in Cincinnati, I think it's hard for people outside to understand how much he means to the city, and how May 14th will be a great day of celebration. And it's unfortunate that he had to pass before he could get in the Hall of Fame, where I believe he belongs. But if you look at that, tell everybody about what he means to Cincinnati and how special of a day that will be.
I think the easiest way to describe it is I've lived here more than 20 years now, and I still don't get it. I just can't. I mean, like, no, it's like, it's just one of those things that you have to have been born here and raised here to understand the connection with Pete Rose, who was a great hitter, flawed person, as
Hmm.
we all are. Some of us different and more flaws than others, but it is something that is just kind of beyond description. And sorry, I can't do better than that. But
That's okay.
that's really what I've got on that.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that to me is the fact that I mean, he's a local kid, right? So, and I moved to Cincinnati 4 years ago because I'm here too, see Trent. And when I talked to my buddies here who were born and raised in the area, And, they recognize the flaws and all the things that we all know about. It didn't matter. Every bar I walk into, there's a picture of Pete Rose. The one down the street from a place I like to enjoy a cigar has him flipping off the camera, very, very Pete Rose. And so it's remarkable, but it's fun to watch the fan base in Cincinnati. And they're getting a team, I think, who's on the cusp of really breaking out. And real quick before you go, does this team, as it's currently constructed, can it make a run at this NL Central, or do you think that they're going to have to add pieces, and will ownership add pieces if they need it?
I think they can add, and I think they probably will. Most people do. But yeah, I mean, like, we're not talking the NL East or the AL West. I mean, or NL West. This is a winnable division as they're constructed this moment. There's the Cubs are off to a good start, but look where the Cubs were this time last year. Pretty much the same place. They'd have some injury concerns. They lose starting pitchers. It's certainly winnable, but that's that's damning with faint praise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, see Trent Rosecrans. You can catch his work at The Athletic, covers the Cincinnati Reds. Follow him on X at @CTrent. Good stuff, my man. Thanks for being with us today.
Of course.
All right, welcome back. It is the final segment here on Big League Buzz, the MLB podcast from Sportsnaut.com. I'm your host, Scott Golbranen. Again, a big shout out and thank you. Thank you to C. Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic, covers the Reds, and spent that great last segment with us talking about this Reds team. And are they for real? It's so hard to tell at this point. I know it's always early. Baseball season, as I mentioned in both segments today, is a long, long season. So you can't take the first 30 days, this first month we've gone through, where the Reds are just a bit above 500. You can't look at them and say, well, they're going to be a really good team. But in that division with the Cubs, who I think are playing a little bit out of their head right now, then you got the Pirates, you got the Brewers, all those teams struggling a little bit. And I don't think they have enough. I think Cincinnati has the horses to win. I think Cincinnati has the best lineup. They have to find consistency. They got to have that pitching staff continue to develop. Hunter Greene's got to continue to have the kind of year he's had already after 1 month. They got to keep people healthy. And the offensive lineup just has to be more consistent. Those massive barrages of runs, I mean, they're there, but then they go 35 innings without scoring a run. Now, that's also early season. I like Terry Francona. I think Terry Francona, as I said earlier, huge get for this club. And I think that the Reds will develop that maturity. And the big question for me is going to be, if they stick around, and as I think they will, at the top of that division, then what will ownership do? The Reds ownership is known as one of the cheapest in baseball and one of the most hated, if you know the story with what they did in Cincinnati. So whether you agree with that or not, doesn't matter. The question is going to become, are they going to be buyers? Are they going to go look for help on that pitching staff when some of these teams start unloading talent? Are they going to go get the big bat they need if they can't find it particularly at the corners, left field, right field, and first and third base? Are they going to go out and get one of those guys? If they do, if they get that one or two pieces to put them over the top, I think they have a really, really high ceiling. And this team's young. I think it's only going to get better this year and in 2026. So we'll see. But we'll have to know. But you guys let me know what you think when it comes to this baseball season and the NL Central. Maybe there's some Cub fans out there angry at me because that bar they call a ballpark, Wrigley Field, has been on fire because the Cubs have done so well. And credit to them. They've done so well. I'm originally from Chicago, so that's why I'm giving you a little crap. But anyway, we appreciate you being with us. And again, a thank you to C. Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic to talk Cincinnati Reds with us. And that's what we're going to do on the show, folks. We're going to talk about the news of the day, the news of the week, all that stuff. But we're also going to tell you about what's coming up. And I got to tell you, there's a couple, in closing here, there's a couple big series coming up this week that you got to pay attention to. The Giants at the Padres starting tomorrow, starting on Tuesday. I'm recording this on Monday if you're listening to it later. The Giants-Padres series starts on the 29th And if you think about it, these are two teams in the NL West that I spent a lot of time talking about it. Padres are third in the division now after being swept at home by the Rays, or the Devil Rays, as I still like to call them. So the Giants in the lead in the NL West, followed by the Dodgers. So this is a big series for both of these teams early in the year, and we'll see what happens there in this stacked NL West. But that's a series you got to watch. Just watch some of that game, some of those games. I know it's going to be late. Thursday's game should be a day game on the West Coast, which should be an evening game on the East Coast. Then also another NL West team, but this time facing an NL East team. Another series you got to watch is the Diamondbacks and the Mets at the Mets out at City Park. They are going to be there starting Tuesday as well for a 3-game series. So this pits the NL West versus the NL East. The Mets on top of the NL East, 19-9. Padres had the best record last week in baseball. Now the Mets, they're with 19-9. The Beast from the East, as they're wanting to be called. The Diamondbacks are fourth in the NL West, 15-13, like I told you. So it's been a lot of offense there as well. So those are the two series, the Padres and Giants at the Giants, and of course, the Diamondbacks at the Mets. So there you have it. Those are two of the series I'm highlighting this week. Two series I really want to get some action and watch. So make sure you do that. But as I said, this is how this podcast is going to go. We're going to have guests. Sometimes I'll have co-hosts that come on with me to talk baseball. And we're going to have a lot of great stuff here, including the news of the day, the news of the week, and whatever's going on, whatever's on your mind. You can drop comments too below, whether you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube or wherever. Tell us what you want to see. Is there subject matter you want to hear about? Is there things that you want to hear about on the podcast? Just let us know. If you do that, we're going to give it to you. X is going to give it to you, right? We're going to give it to you. There we go. Another lyric. I know. Who is this guy? Tell him to shut up. Okay. But that's going to do it for this edition. Excuse me. So excited I can't talk. This edition of Big League Buzz, the MLB podcast from Sportsnaut. Be sure you subscribe wherever you get your audio, wherever you get your video. Give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to rate and review. And we'll be back. The plan is to do at least one a week, but we could do 2 or 3 a week, depending on how the interviews stack up and the stories go down. Because we want to bring you the latest and greatest from the world of professional baseball, Major League Baseball, the bigs, as they call them. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to all of you out there for doing that. Make sure you sign up for the sportsnaut.com email newsletter and check out sportsnaut.com. Until next time, everybody, keep swinging for the fences. I'll talk to you soon.